Ben Levy, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm great now that I'm here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So what are we going to talk about today? What is your superpower, Ben?
I know everything in the world about Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes.
I don't
Okay,
think that's why we're
which character do you best affiliate with in Looney Tunes?
Is it too basic to say Bugs Bunny? Is that everybody's answer?
Yeah, it's got to be too basic. We
right.
cannot accept that.
All
Scrap that.
Then I'm going to go with Marvin Martian.
Oh, that's a good one. Why?
Yeah. I mean, on a bad day, I want to blow up the earth. That is absolutely, I get the vibe.
Yeah. Ellie's kind of like that too. Our producer. Do we have the producer mic going? No, we just stopped doing that. Okay. I'm gonna cut you off. Yeah. Okay. So you are the presentation coach of the ad industry. When I think presentation skills, I think Ben Levy, and I want to know how to become a better presenter. Maybe in a little bit, what they should look up, how they should follow you, and then along with other best advice that you have. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Wonderful. But first things first, what do you like to do outside of advertising stuff?
I do jujitsu.
Okay.
So I like to get violent hugs from other individuals for extended periods of time.
How long have you been doing that?
It'll be 2 years in a month, I think. And I've done martial arts my whole life. I'm a glutton for punishment. So either physical or mental in advertising.
I love it. Interesting. Okay, I did not know that about you. Is there a good shop around here or a dojo around here that I should check out?
I mean, there's probably a ton of great academies. This is not.
It's not a dojo.
Well, not as far as I know. I've trained in dojos. I've done a lot of different martial arts, but I'll walk into a place still and get told like, no, that's not the name for that thing. So the one I go to is apparently an academy.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's plenty.
Yeah,
trip over from going home.
Got it. So let's get into it. Tell me about what you're up to today, Ben, and how you're helping agency professionals out.
I am trying to save all of us, both the presenters and the presentees, from death by Google slide.
Oh,
and
okay.
That takes place either with individual coaching, or I'll go to agencies and do a workshop for an entire department or the entire agency if I can convince them.
Why do you say Google Slides over PowerPoint? And does it matter?
It doesn't.
It seems like most agencies are biased towards Google Slides when they shouldn't be using it. It seems like, at least it's some of these.
So, and maybe this will get into where we were planning to head, but the biggest mistake that both individual creatives and agencies as a whole will make when presenting is they think with their deck. So that's the first place that they go when it's time to present work is, how are we going to lay these slides out? Do we have all the slides we need? Where are the slides going? They assume as soon as that's done, okay, we've finished the presentation, we're good. And if you're doing this correctly, that's just a piece of the whole. Don't start with the pretty pictures. Don't start with the fancy words. We're comfortable with those, and that's where everybody gravitates to. But truthfully, you need to sit a little bit and think about what's the context that you're presenting this work in. What are the things that you want to say versus the things that are going to go on the slide, or versus the things that shouldn't be said at all, because nobody needs to know that you stayed up 6 weeks without sleep in order to try and get the presentation together.
Yeah, don't say that.
There are people who've said it. There's a video clip that I watched, it feels like 100 years ago, where a woman was saying, I used to be agency side, now I'm client side. I just have to tell you agencies something. When you come in the room and you say to us, oh yeah, we were up all night putting this together, I know that you think you're saying, we're working really hard for you.
Yeah, we care about this. Yeah, we worked really hard.
We literally opened a vein for this work. But all we hear is, we left you till the last minute. We're super unorganized. I wouldn't trust us with anything important.
Totally.
But that disconnect is everywhere. Mm-hmm. And that's just one example of it. So you'll have this desire by the agency to show the work that was done in the presentation, client doesn't care. Ultimately, they don't care. What they want to know is, do you have the answer to their problem?
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll wind up saying way too much, and we'll wind up having, again, that object of the deck way too thick.
Isn't the work usually the solution to the problem? Where am I? Is there a disconnect here?
So the work is the solution to the problem. Do you need to preface that with 50 slides about the agency's proprietary process?
Oh, yeah.
Do you need to preface it with 17 minutes of recap on the strategy, even though there was a whole meeting for that last week?
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing combined with the way that we present the work often is over-explained. So if the standard concept slide has a comp or two on there and then 3 paragraphs of what the idea is, and that's there beside you while you're explaining it. I don't need you there. That slide explains everything.
Yep.
I don't even need to know everything. You just need to give me the rough overview of what that is. If I'm interested in it as a client, I'll ask you more. We can get into it. But we're constantly undercutting ourselves by putting all of that content there. We're basically interrupting ourselves with the visuals.
Interesting. Yeah. Because what's the usual setup? It's usually, and I'll pause there just because there's a lot of bang. Everything's good. It's just my phone. Okay. And we'll cut that out. But isn't like every like comp slide pretty much similar? It's like the background, the insight, the idea, and there's like those 3 paragraphs. That's what you're saying. You're saying you should keep that on there, get rid of the mock-up, or is there a solution?
So the friction that appears here most frequently is that the deck is getting built for 2 purposes. One is for the agency to present either in person or through Teams, whatever it may be. The other is after that presentation, they have to send it over to people who weren't in the room or who didn't have it memorized and need to sell it up the chain. And so the constant push and pull is, well, I get that if there's too many words on this slide, then people aren't listening to me. But if there aren't enough words on this slide, I can't send it over after the meeting. So I don't have time to make 2 decks. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And the solution that I tell everyone to do is what I call the iceberg deck. Start with those overwritten slides. You're going to have those anyway. That's the agency process. Like you said, that's the standard comp slide. But then take the single most important point out of that and make a second slide that comes before it. So it might be a headline. It might just be full bleed, whatever the image was that you had.
Yeah.
Something that introduces the concept or the idea without telling everything.
Yeah.
That you can speak to.
Yes.
And then for the presentation, hide the info slide.
Yes.
Just make it invisible. Now you've got a deck that doesn't undercut you, that doesn't speak for you. And when it's time to send it over, you just make all that stuff visible again and send it.
Genius.
And if you get into a situation in the meeting where you feel like, oh, there was something else I wanted to say about it, or the client starts asking questions about, wait, how are you going to do all that stuff? Give me a second. Here, it's like having the appendix exactly where you need it. You unhide that slide.
Unhide it.
Here's how we go deeper in.
Oh my gosh. That's genius.
And
I love that.
It's the iceberg deck because like an iceberg, 90% of the content's hidden.
Yeah.
So that's the solution that I tell everyone to use. And sometimes there's fights with folks like a account or strategy going, but we need this information. No, it'll be in there. I promise.
Yes.
Just let's try without it and see what happens. So that they have to listen to me. That's the point of the meeting. If you're going to walk in with a slide and a deck that serves as a leave behind that can explain everything on its own, you literally don't need to be there.
Right.
The meeting should be an email.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got to leave something out that provides a reason for you as the presenter to be there.
I love it. No, it's genius. And that's probably just one tool that you have in the whole toolbox for your presentation coaching.
Yeah.
So you'll go in and help individuals, and then you'll also help whole agency, probably departments, probably even more.
Yeah.
And I want to know like how you got into all this stuff, and we can bring it back and talk about other advice, maybe for the next generation.
Yeah.
Because we'll bring it back because I think everybody, especially the aspiring to people just breaking in for their first job, they should have some of this presentation knowledge. So how does that sound?
Yeah.
We'll kick it
good.
back. Cool.
Yeah.
So then how did you break into advertising? What was your first position? Give me the rundown in the very beginning.
I'm pretty unique in that I actually went to school for advertising.
Love that.
And then,
How did you know you wanted to go to school?
In high school, there was a class called Communication Arts, and the teacher was really cool. He was also supposed to be really difficult and strict, and we were making ads and doing graphic
in
design
high school.
And all this stuff.
Where'd you go to high school?
I didn't know the names of. Cherry Hill East in New Jersey.
Okay.
And the teacher was actually his other job. He would hand letter type, like gilt type on the side of fire trucks. So he was like a graphic designer of the old school.
Nice.
And I remember the first 3 projects that we had was to create an ad for a new product, an ad for a product that was known and had competitors in the market. And then the third was an ad that was supposed to be essentially just branding. They know you, just remind them you exist. And like I said, it was supposed to be a tough course. And I got back a 98, a 98, and 100 on those 3. And my dad goes, "Do you think maybe you want to do this?" And it had never occurred to me. So starting then in high school, it was always sort of in my mind, like, well, I guess maybe I can do this. They pay you for these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to wear a tie, so that seemed like I wouldn't have to.
Yeah.
And then went to Syracuse University.
Great program.
Yeah, phenomenal. And I was actually lucky enough while I was there, one of my professors was Pete Barry, who's the author of the concept book. Yeah. Which is one of the seminal works. He hadn't written it yet, but that was everything we did in those classes. It's exactly what he talks about in there. There was no computer. There was no, just you Sharpie it on paper. If you suck at drawing, put an arrow and say, this is a cat. Like just concept.
Yep.
So that was the start. And at the time I was dating a pre-med who then went to Miami for medical school. And I decided either I'd wasted a lot of time in college or this was a thing. And so I followed her down to Miami, and it's okay because she's my wife now. So I didn't waste my time.
Of course.
But that led to Miami Ad School. And in college, I had sworn I was done. I was like, I don't want any more school. Give me the real world. 6 months of going through, this was back in the day, kids. We had a phone book. I called every single ad agency in Miami in the phone book, and every one of them said, no, we don't need anything. And 2 of them said, listen, if you want to try and get in around here, you got to go to Miami Ad School.
What was this was, if I'm looking at your LinkedIn, was Crispin in Miami at this time, or had they just moved to Boulder?
No, so when I started, they were still in Crispin. By the time I left Miami Ad School, by the time I graduated 2 years later, they had shifted to Boulder.
Got it.
So it was during that period.
The exodus.
What that meant was my first year, I basically had all Crispin teachers.
Fantastic.
It was amazing.
Who'd you have?
Carl Corbett, who isn't there anymore, but he was a senior writer at the time. He was phenomenal for writing. Danelle Johnson, who continues to make work that just puts me in a jealous rage.
That's fantastic.
Danelle was literally the first teacher in the first class. And for the first 40 minutes, I think he was just blowing all of our minds with advertising knowledge. And then mid-rant, he was talking about how we needed to be able to critique one another and don't worry about it because you're all friends. And then he saw the looks on our faces and went, wait, do you guys not know each other? And we were like, dude, it's day 1. And he goes, oh, no, that's not going to work. We're going to the bar. And literally just took us all, in the next hour and a half of class was spent like becoming friends so that we could critique each other without fear.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a good lesson there.
He was amazing. I'm blanking on the name, but the head of strategy at Crispin was the one who taught strategy class for me. And I swear that, as much as anything else, has probably been the secret power that I took through my career, because it was all of that breakthrough work on Mini, all of the Volkswagen stuff that came after that. The strategy behind that was the kind of thinking that was shared with us.
Oh, wow.
So that first year was a phenomenal foundation for me.
And you're going the copywriting track?
And I'm in copy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I discovered that in college that I have a hard stop as far as design.
Yeah.
That at a certain point, I'll just start crying into the Photoshop shortcut keys. I don't want to do it anymore. Please don't make me. I will write till my fingers fall off.
I love it.
So
I feel like today, though, I feel like some of the AI stuff makes the design a little bit easier, unless I don't know.
It does. I'm too much of a perfectionist in some ways to be satisfied with the AI stuff.
Yeah.
When I use it, I'll use it as a reference more than I will, okay, here's the final thing.
So it's like a reference to somebody that is an art director that you...
It'll be, maybe there's a pose that I'm trying to create. All right, give me something close to this AI, and then I can build the skeleton on that. Okay, now I've got the foundation that I need to keep working.
Got it.
Versus trying to create the final image through AI.
Yeah.
Because for me, there's just too many little things that aren't going to be what I want them to be.
Sure. So back to Miami Ad School. You had amazing teachers. You're going down the copy track then. So you got Syracuse and Miami Ad School.
Yeah.
And at the time, this is like a good time for portfolio schools in general. Like they're still really, really effective, whether they are or not today. That's a different discussion. But you're at the prime here. So I'm assuming by the time you're done with Miami Ad School, you're going to land and get a full-time job. Is this correct?
Yeah. So actually, I got hired before I got out of Miami Ad School.
Nice. So you just dipped out then?
It was important to my parents who didn't understand anything about advertising or Miami Ad School that I graduate. So I said, okay, it's one more quarter. Sure, whatever
Did you do
makes
them
you
both
happy.
at the same time?
Yeah. So,
oh my gosh,
I was lucky enough at the end of the first year, my partner and I got picked to go intern at Strawberry Frog, and in New York, and when I was done with that internship, everybody said, you can't go back to Miami. You're now in the industry. You need to stay here.
As an intern.
Even as an intern, like, don't just stay in New York. This is the mecca of advertising. Right. You're doing good work. Like, don't essentially go back to school and waste time with teachers when you're able to function in an agency on some level.
Yeah.
And that sounded great, but that girl that I had followed, we were engaged at that point.
Yeah.
And I went, no, I was allowed these 3 months and I got to go back now.
Yeah.
So and they said, okay, well, then you have to intern at Crispin. I heard this over and over again from people.
From people in New York.
People in New York
That's
were
fair.
saying, if you're going to Miami, you gotta intern at Crispin, then make sure you get in there. And there were all these rules that meant that through Miami Ad School, I couldn't even apply to Crispin yet. But what I didn't realize is that all these people who were telling me, go to Crispin, they all had connections there, and they were actually emailing the recruiter who was in charge of internships at Crispin, saying, look out for this guy. I didn't ask them to do this. I didn't know they were doing this. And when I finally reached out to her on the side and said, hey, I was hoping I could do this, the reply was, oh, I've been waiting for you. Send me your portfolio.
Wonderful.
And I remember I sent it to her. It was a PDF. We didn't have portfolio sites then. I sent it to her and I said, wouldn't it be funny if after all this time, it was just poorly written limericks and crayon scribbles? And 45 minutes later, I got the response, yes, it would be. Luckily, it's not. You're in.
Fantastic.
And so I then had to do Miami Ad School and a Crispin internship at the same time because it wasn't officially through MAD.
Yeah.
Apparently there were some angry calls back and forth about that between like Bogusky and Ron, who owned the school at the time.
What do you think that anger was about? Why was Bogusky mad?
Oh, I don't think he cared. It was Ad School.
Okay.
Because they didn't want everyone that they knew flocking to Crispin without going through channels. Like, I get it. Also, sorry, not sorry.
No.
It was an opportunity I had to take.
I would say if you get a job offer, an internship offer, like while you're at a portfolio school, like dip out.
Yeah. The way that I talk to people about internships, and I've started and run internship programs in almost every agency I've worked at. The way that I talk to people about it is this is a 10 or 12-week interview.
Exactly.
There's nothing better for you to see how the agency operates, but also to see what you like. I got to Crispin, and I remember my partner and I flew to Boulder at one point because we sold some Burger King radio, and they said, come produce it.
Fantastic.
And I got there, and I was up at 4 a.m., and I called a friend of mine and said, something's wrong because I'm not having fun. Like, I got insanely burnt out in just the 2 weeks I was there. I slept probably 14 hours the whole time.
At Crispin?
At Crispin in Boulder. And I lost 14 pounds in those 2 weeks. It's a great diet plan. Go to Crispin Porter in the early aughts. And
oh my goodness, man. This is crazy.
It was brutal.
So you sold, let me understand this correctly. So you sold a radio spot. You were interning in Miami. And then you flew to Boulder.
Crispin, Miami. Flew to Boulder to produce it. And you were there in Boulder for 2 weeks. Yeah.
And what was happening?
Just the pace was insane. The sort of things that would happen. I remember going to my CD. I had stayed up all night because he said, we want some lines for a Coke Zero billboard. Mm-hmm. And again, intern, Crispin Porter, possibly writing a line that shows up in a real place out in the world for a brand people have heard of. I stayed up. I wrote 500 lines because I wasn't yet good enough as a writer to be able to write 20 and go, yeah, these 3 are what's right.
The proliferation would bring some quality.
You just keep going, and eventually you break through.
Do you think you put that, was it a combination of the pressures of how good the shop was and the culture paired with the inexperience, you think? Like, how can we diagnose this?
I think a lot of it was the culture of the shop. I mean, this is the same era of Crispin where they had a cover on Ad Age or Ad Week.
The sweatshop.
The sweatshop.
Yeah.
And you just brought stacks of paper to every review, and just stuff went in the trash or it stayed on the table or folded corner or whatever somebody's system was. But there was somebody, I remember there was a full-timer who'd been there 9 months and hadn't sold anything. And at one point fell asleep and accidentally emailed like the 17 paragraphs of ends to his report that he was trying to talk to. That it was standard for people to sleep there. It was standard for people to go way harder than you really should.
Yeah.
And it's not like that now. I know people who
now it's a totally
different thing.
It's not the same.
But that was the culture. And so to get back to the point that led us here, the thing that was so valuable to me about that internship is that I had been putting Crispin as my North Star since I heard who they were in college.
Yeah.
So culmination of 3-4 years of looking at this, I was there. And then I realized this isn't what I want.
Yeah.
This isn't the kind of advertising that I want to do.
Were there some people there that did want that?
Yeah. There were people who knew exactly what this was, looked it square in the face, went, this is it. I'm doing this to the exclusion of everything else in my life. And they were good with it.
Yeah.
There were other people who said, okay, I'm going to do this for a set period of time.
Sell some work.
Yep.
Work really hard, sell some work. And now I have it on my resume, my portfolio. I can go anywhere I want.
Yeah. Yeah. But for me, the grind was so hard that, and again, whether that's where I was in terms of my level of craft or just how they operated or both, again, at a very early age, I think for most creatives, I was engaged. So I'm looking ahead. The next chapter of my life is going to involve a person that I want to spend a lot of time with. Crispin's not where you go.
Yeah.
To spend a lot of time with your family at that time. And I mean, when my wife was in medical school, it worked great. I remember us passing in the driveway. She was leaving for night shift and I was just coming back in the morning. And it was like, yeah, that's fine. I'll see you in 2 months. Like we were both burning ourselves out in the short term because we knew
the long-term
road
payoff,
it would pay off. But the thing that was valuable about it was the opportunity to network and the opportunity to see, all right, this isn't actually the thing that I thought it was from the outside. And so then when I did start looking at opportunities and places to work full time, I had that knowledge already. And it was, I don't have to chase that thing. There's different kinds of cultures, different kinds of agencies that I can work for.
Gotcha.
And the first place that I worked at, it was one of my teachers in Miami ad school.
Yeah. That network is so nice.
Who was furious at me the entire time because I was doing the school and Crispin thing. And he's like, you're not focusing on the class. You're not doing the work. You're not. I went, yeah, no, I know. I'm sorry. I promise. But the rule was you didn't get a grade until that final class. So you could screw up all semester. It didn't matter as long as your portfolio did it in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked in. The Crispin internship finished like a week before the end of the semester. And I walked in and showed it. And he was like, you did it.
Nice.
I didn't think you were going to. You did. And he was actually one of the guys behind Subservient Chicken.
Yeah.
He was old school Crispin on the digital side.
Yeah.
And worked at this shop called Chameleon Group that was design shifting to full service. And I got a call a couple days later, hey, do you want to be an intern? And a couple weeks after that, not very long at all, it was, hey, we want you to be our first copy hire.
Fantastic.
And so that was the way that I got that first job outside of, before even leaving Miami ad school.
Okay. What a wild story. If you were to do this again, breaking in 2025, 2026, how would you go about it?
You don't need the ad school for the network.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a ton that I was able to learn there in terms of craft and skill, but the biggest thing that I took away from Miami ad school was just the people. And so the piece that I would take now is to try and build that network, to try and literally make friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell this to people a lot. It's super demoralizing to apply to jobs right now because none of that's under your control.
Totally.
You can send a million links
Yeah.
and portfolios into the ether, whatever. It's not in your control whether somebody else gets back to you. And if you send a million, you're just trying to hit a number and it's exhausting. But if you think about it in terms of who can I make friends with? Who would be cool to hang out with?
Yeah.
Just stay in the orbit of people. And then when something does come up, they'll know your name. You'll be there.
Totally. It's like, how do you map that out on a timeline? It's like, you don't know when an agency is going to win or lose business.
Right.
But if you just stay consistent with people that you like and top of mind, when something does open up, they do win a new business account. They're never going to open up a LinkedIn job post, right?
No.
Like that rarely happens.
Yeah.
What they're going to say, they're going to be like, Ben, do you have a copywriter? We need a junior copywriter. Anybody come top of mind? And then you'll be like, oh, this kid and I have been getting a beer once every 6 months for the past year.
Yeah.
Let's hit him up.
Yeah. And I literally had somebody drop in my DMs yesterday going, do you know a team that's good for pitches? And it was like, well, how do you want me to narrow this down? Yes, I do.
Totally.
So that's the kind of thing where just the more opportunities you line up when that time is right, then you can maximize on it.
Totally. So you would be making friends, you build your portfolio, and remind me, would you go to a portfolio school in 2025?
I don't think so. The portfolio...
Did you need it for the structure? Because I feel like for me, Gino Schellenberger, I would need the structure. I would appreciate that structure.
Yeah. That's a great point. I do think, and a lot of us as creatives are basically human versions of squirrels. If you're distracted by shiny things and you don't know how to say, okay, this is done, which is a very hard thing to do when you're first breaking in.
Right.
Know when something is finished. Yeah. I think having a portfolio school program rhetoric can be helpful.
Yeah.
You can, again, build those things yourself.
Yes.
If you choose 1, 2 people in the industry that you look up to and say, listen, this is my goal. Can you help me get there? You're making friends and you're also learning what they think is valuable.
I love how you point out 1 to 2 people. I wrote that on my Substack. I'm like, I see these people that like shotgun send out their portfolio for reviews, or like I have a million different mentors. Well, now your perspective is completely just watered down.
Yeah.
Like 1 to 2 people that you can trust and consistently go back to get advice on your portfolio, I think is the sweet spot.
I had a classmate in Miami Ad School who won the Student One show one year.
Oh, nice.
And he would obviously show that in his portfolio when he went around, and everybody he showed the work to would want to add something to it.
Always.
But it was different every time. And this poor guy would change it every time. But well, because this CD said that, then I went, this CD said do that one. It's like, dude, you've
Frankenstein.
You gotta choose one. You're not gonna please everybody. We know that.
Yeah.
But you've got to decide what kind of work you want to make.
Right.
Find the person that makes work where you go, that if I could just sit and make this kind of work all day, this is what I want to do. That's one of those 2 mentors for you. And stick with that. Otherwise, again, especially before you've even broken into the industry, you will make yourself crazy just trying to chase every single opinion.
Totally. That's already really amazing advice. So I want to get into, for that same person that's trying to break in today, presentation skills. Should they even worry about presenting if they're trying to get their first job, or they just broke in, or should they just be heads down, give it to their creative director? If they like the idea, the creative director can pitch it out. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, and. So in a perfect world, I would say just focus on the work.
Okay.
You need to have that right. Otherwise, you're presenting bad stuff. It's A, harder to present. B, what if they buy it? That would be terrible. So focus on the craft. But there's 2 caveats to that. One is that as agencies shrink, more and more creatives are actually getting put in the room earlier and earlier with clients to try and sell work.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to boost your career, and if you want a chance of the stuff you're creating to actually get made, you do need to work on those skills a little bit. You need to figure out what's the biggest hurdle for me? Is it nerves? Is it manner of speech? Is it something I'm doing in the deck, like writing everything and then just reading it because I don't know what else to do in the room?
Feels safer.
It's holding me back.
Yeah.
Right. Choose one of those things.
What were they? Nerves?
Nerves can be a common one, especially when you're right out of school and now you're sitting across from a client.
Yeah.
The desire to script out the whole presentation in the deck is a big one. I'll see seasoned creatives that will still do that. There's also the quality of your voice, the comfort that you have in the room. So people will occasionally feel like, well, I don't want to be too excited because what if they don't like the idea? Then I'll lose credibility with them because they'll think, well, that one wasn't good, but they were excited about it. So I'm just going to be maybe super monotone. I'm just going to present everything like this. And like, you tell me if you like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But you'll see people who drop down that way.
Yeah. I guess I can kind of see the psychology about that. Like kind of like setting the expectations, letting the idea speak for itself. So I don't want to oversell it. What is the response to that?
Hi, past Ben. Nice to have you here. I mean, that was me. That was me for the longest time in my career. I believed that the work needed to sell itself. I was told in college, I was told in ad school, you don't get to stand on the street under your billboard and go, let me tell you why this is good. It has to stand on its own. And that is true. But a billboard out in the street is not the same as a comp in a boardroom.
Right.
And I confused those 2 things. I thought, well, if it has to stand on its own out there, then it also should stand on its own when somebody chooses it. So I would literally try to say and do as little as possible in meetings. I spoke in a monotone. I just advanced the slide click by click. I didn't try to sell anything in. It did not work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so that's the sort of thing that can be beneficial for somebody starting out. The other piece of it is you need to be known if you want to grow your career. And I don't mean known like go become an influencer, although if you can get on 60-second news, fantastic.
That's right.
Or here. But get known within the organization, get known within the agency you're working at. And that means you need to be okay talking to your boss. You need to be okay talking to your boss's boss.
Yeah.
And being able to make your points clearly and quickly. And that's a thing that being a good presenter can help with.
Yeah.
Because I reached a point after I started to develop these techniques and work on these skills for myself where I would have to repitch other people's concepts in the room because the way they were explaining stuff, I could see the brilliance behind it, but they weren't communicating that to the CD.
So you're like pitch relief.
I would step in and have to say something like,
Yeah.
actually, you know what? There is something about that I really like, and then represent what they had just done. And
Yeah.
again, 3 lines. You got to be quick because nobody wants to get bored by hearing this thing over. But more often than not, after I was done doing that, the CD would go, okay, no, I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying there. Let's add that one in too. That'll go to the meeting.
Fantastic.
Because again, there's a responsibility. Just because I can do this doesn't mean that all my ideas are the right ones or that I beat the other person. Like, get the best work to the client.
Yeah.
Get the best work out there.
Totally. And so to wrap things up, how can people learn more? What is the best for somebody that's in this industry or they're trying to break into this industry to learn more and become a better presenter?
Sell It Great on LinkedIn is the easiest way to stalk me.
Yeah.
There is a book called Stop Reading Slides.
Yeah.
That's got everything that we've talked about in more detail, plus all the other stuff we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
And then sellitgreat.com is the easiest way to contact me if you're curious about coaching, about workshops, about anything else that we've gone on here at Linkthon.
Yeah.
And I am always down to have a half-hour chat with folks. So even if you are starting in the industry and you have this weird idea like, oh my God, he's on the Breaking and Entering podcast, he definitely wouldn't talk to me. I will. There's a link on my profile page in LinkedIn. Just go click that.
I love that. Yeah, I think if I was starting out in the industry, I would want to have you in my corner, like a Rob Schwartz, like leadership coach, and I don't know, probably a really good psychologist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all need that.
Yeah. Those would be my 3 that I would constantly bug and have meetings with all the time to be like a super hero in this industry. You can really help people out. So I hope people do say hello.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm so lonely.
Me too. Nicely done, Ben. Thank you for coming on.